And whether you think it's a good idea or whether you think it's bad, these are just ideas of James. In today's video, we're going to explore why stuffmadehere failed to beat the lockpicking lawyer. A while ago, a guy called Shane at the engineering-based YouTube channel stuffmadehere decided to make an unpickable lock. After a good bit of time tinkering away in his workshop, he managed to design, make, and install his lock. He then challenged a local locksmith to open it, but they were unable to do so. However, after the video was released, the internet did its thing until the lock eventually ended up in the hands of fellow YouTuber, the lockpicking lawyer. Given that Shane at stuffmadehere is known for making creative engineering projects and the lockpicking lawyer is known for getting locks open, the anticipation was high to see who would emerge the victor. When the video was finally released, we discovered that the lockpicking lawyer defeated the supposedly unpickable lock with somewhat ease. After watching the video, I began thinking a lot about unpickable locks. It wasn't too long after that when I began drawing up plans for my own design. On completing it, I found that my approach was somewhat different and so thought it would make an interesting video. The first problem I wanted to fix was the relative ease in which keys can be duplicated. All you need is a photograph or an impression of the key. This is only possible because the secret of how to open the lock is visible on the key itself. It would be like carrying around your PIN number. At some point, someone is going to see it. Therefore, it doesn't matter how secure the lock is, if someone has a duplicate key, then the lock can be opened. The next problem to address is with the lock itself. Most locks work in similar ways in that they have an opening that leads directly to the mechanism. Ideally, you would want to make it as difficult as possible for pickers to get access to this, but this is rarely the case. Worryingly, a set of pocket-sized lock-picking tools will allow an experienced picker to open most locks. Lastly, lock pickers usually need to apply tension to a lock mechanism in order to pick it open. This tension on the mechanism makes it possible to keep individual pins in place as others are being manipulated. If a lock cannot be tensioned, then picking it becomes much more difficult. To begin, I started with the key design. I knew I wanted to make it as generic and featureless as possible. I felt that the unique features of the key should be hidden from view rather than on display. This led me to the idea of using magnets. These can exert influence on other magnets and metals but remain invisible. This key design would eliminate traditional methods of key duplication such as taking photographs and impressioning. With the key design sorted, this now had to be compatible with a locking mechanism. I was able to still use pins that go up and down in my design, as fortunately magnets are able to attract and repel other magnets at a distance and even go through other materials. I have also been able to isolate the mechanism to make sure nothing can be poked through the keyhole, and this lack of access would make most lockpicking tools obsolete here, which is a clear advantage. The final thing to solve was how to prevent tensioning, but I will come to that shortly. Let me show you inside of the lock. As you can see, there are a few things to explain. The bottom half of the picture shows 4 red pins, and attached to each of those pins is an arm. Let's take a closer look at one of these pins when it is set in a low position. You can see the attached arm is kept at an upward angle. This sticks up, which keeps the long locking arm in an upward position, which in turn keeps the bolt in place. If we now raise the pin so that it's set too high, we can see that the arm is no longer in an upward position, but the locking arm is still being held in place by the pin itself. Only if the pin is at the correct height will the locking arm be able to come down and allow the bolt free movement. To make the lock more secure, I have obviously added more pins. If we go back to the original image, you can see that there are 4 of these pins and each one needs to be repelled the right amount by the key or the lock will not open. You can see with all pins as they are, the bolt cannot move. If 3 of the 4 pins are set but 1 isn't, then the locking arm will still keep the lock shut. It is only when all 4 are set that the bolt is free to move. Now, I said I had a way to prevent tensioning, so on top of the locking pin there is a cap. This cap moves up and down along with the locking pin. However, if tension is applied to the bolt, the cap stays in place. What this means is that if you were to tension the lock by applying pressure to the bolt and you successfully got all the pins set correctly, the lock would still not open. Tensioning this lock provides literally no advantage. Now, I'm not saying that my lock is any good or that it is unpickable or anything like that, but I was disappointed in stuffmadehere's attempt as I saw Shane use a regular key which would have been vulnerable to impressioning. This led him to using a keyway and pins just like most other locks that are pickable. As clever as his design is, we have to realize that lockpicks are equally well designed to open those kinds of locks. Thousands of others have tackled this problem before him, and all of those locks appear on the Lockpicking Lawyer's channel. At some point, we have to realize that locks should be resistant to the tools freely available. This, I think, can only happen through the utilization of new designs. I know it's all very easy for me to say that and to criticize, which is why I designed my own mechanism to show that it can be done. Sure, it's not perfect, but at least it's a start. And with that, I want to say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.